Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice, we're going to mandate. Get it on. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend. We love that about you. Heather McDonald's is running a couple minutes late. She's here. We're on a tight schedule, so she's just going to roll right in here as we get started. Max Pat is here. Now Heather's pulling in, so I think we'll just pull Heather in. Yeah. I don't want to get going on a subject. I'll tee up Heather by.
We're on a tight schedule because you have a flight to Hawaii.
Yes. All right. I can get into two stories. One is, hey Heather.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for coming.
First of all, the camera needs to be moved. It's constantly in the way. Can't see the tabs. You're trying to close things, open things. It's always in the fucking way. Whoever thought that it hanging off the screen was a good idea is a fucking moron, and we need a new place for the fucking camera.
Mics are hot. We're rolling. Okay. We're on a crazy schedule today. Sorry.
Let's go.
Have a seat. I thought of you yesterday and the subject that you might enjoy.
Okay.
Every time I turn on, I watch the shit out of all the news.
Yeah.
You should. Well, you don't have to put your head.
Like clips and
I'll do it.
I'll
do it. It's okay. Yeah.
I always watch news shows. I mean, the entertainment news. I watch the TMZ. I watch Extra. I watch Entertainment Tonight. Every goddamn time I turn on Entertainment Tonight or Extra, there's a 10-minute thing with Sofia Vergara. She's talking about her makeup line. She's holding her dog. They got some kind of deal with America's Got Talent or something.
Probably.
Where they act like it's the only fucking TV show that's ever been aired. It's like, and now Howie Mandel says, and also Sofia Vergara. Like, I've said this about Jennifer Aniston. I like Jennifer. I know her. She's very kind to my daughter. I don't need to know what she's thinking all the time. I don't know what she came some arbiter of, like Jennifer Aniston says. Here's what she says about dating. Like it's
if she expresses an opinion, it becomes news.
It's not. She's not a scholar. Yeah. I'm not that interested in what she's saying. But Sofia Vergara says nothing. Not every time she's interviewed, she's like, I come from a small place and I'm so successful, but I still have problems like everyone else. And that's it. She says there's nothing controversial, there's nothing interesting, there's not even a lukewarm take she ever has, but she's all over these shows every single night.
Okay, I think a couple things are going on. As you know, she's getting divorced.
Yes.
And I really think it was the little dog that caused the divorce. They got this little chihuahua. She got it for herself. And the chihuahua hated her. And my friend did a movie with Joe, and he always had the dog.
Husband.
Yes, the husband. They always had the dog, and she's FaceTiming him, kind of checking up on him. And so I think she's just trying to, stay relevant without people maybe taking a side or whatever. But also I think these shows really don't have any gotcha moments anymore because everybody's just posting their story themselves. They're all on TikTok acting like they're a 25-year-old influencer. Jennifer Aniston is doing the same way that everyone does their this is my hair product, doing the exact same thing that 25-year-old influencers have done for 3 years. Now these women that are huge movie stars are copying them. So then these news stories, that's
television and movies are dead. So now they have to go on TikTok and they have to go on YouTube because that's the only place they can go. Because television movies. What was the last movie you went to go see? You actually went to go see. Went to the theater and went to go see. What was the actual last movie? I couldn't tell you the last movie I saw in a movie theater. Movies and television are dead. It's all streaming and internet now. So that's going to look like what the 1950s looked like soon. Soon we're going to be like, wow, people used to watch television on this thing called a TV. People used to watch TV on a thing called a TV. That is going to be a thing of the past before I die.
That's all they have. So-and-so posted this photo. That's the news story.
Right.
It's not like we had an exclusive interview or we, investigated this juicy thing. It's just, they're literally just reporting on stars' Instagrams now.
Well, I don't want to hear what Sofia Vergara has to say, but I'll weave in this caveat.
Yes.
If she thinks of something to say that's mildly interesting, I will be back. But until then, She has a long track record of saying
I can't
nothing.
even go there. I can't
just
even go to,
nothing.
like, that's
Right.
She just writes it right
Ignorance
down the
about
middle, talks a little
Have to
about
get
her dog,
comfortable.
talks
I
a
know,
little
I'm
about her
hardly
makeup
reacting.
line, and then explains she has problems as well.
Well, also because it kind of got revealed. Well, I kind of said it. She actually came. From my understanding, is that she didn't come from anything under middle class. Like she did come from Colombia, but she wasn't suffering. And so I think sometimes right now it's really cool to brag about being poor.
Yeah.
That you
Yo,
grew up poor. That's the biggest
that's
flex.
the new world
That's
order.
right.
I grew up in the Valley, but I want you guys to know, like, we had to go to Zuma. We did not belong to a beach club. So the fact that I'm here today, like, you can do it too. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's they all want to
Listen.
be you, Adam. You're the one who had the sad North Hollywood story. They're all copying you.
I will challenge any celebrity to try to outpour me. I mean, maybe
Have a pour
Jewel.
off.
Maybe Jewel. Maybe Jewel.
What, that was only that was only for like a few days.
Well, that's the other thing
That's
too.
what I'm saying. You're
There's
exaggerating
no-
these sad, like everyone's doing, and then richer stars are doing middle class cosplay, where they do TikToks on, I'm going to see what it's like to go to Red Lobster. Oh, look how big this menu is. Oh, and I actually liked it. Oh, this rich person actually liked Red Lobster. They're so relatable. Like, just shut up.
Listen. I agree. I mean, it's kind of an offshoot if you think about it. First off, I've said this many times. There's no way 86% of celebrities in the last 10 minutes had to sleep in their car. They love that fucking story. My son's 17. I'm going to tell him, we live in a beautiful part of town. Safe.
sleep in
I'm
the
going to
car
say,
for the night.
just go fucking spend one night in your car, would you? Later on, if you
Go
become a
sleep in the car
celebrity,
for
you
the
can
night.
go, I sleep in my car.
Yeah.
And there's no follow-up. Everyone slept
no
in their car.
follow-up.
Nobody ever slept in their car before 10 minutes ago. Now everyone's got the story about sleeping in their car.
So
My
good.
husband always shoves this in my kids' face that when they were like a family going on they were like swimmers, that they would go to like these less expensive hotels. They'd all share the night in a hotel. And then my husband, before the big swim meet, his dad would be snoring so loud that he would sleep in the bathtub. So he'd be like, I used to sleep in the bathtub, when we'd go on vacation. And so then now my boys are like, oh my God, not the bathtub story again. So you know what? I am going to make them sleep in the bathroom one night just so they have that story for when they're trying to gain some love.
You don't
Yeah,
need
some
them.
sympathy,
You don't need to
maybe.
make them sleep in the bathroom because at some point, how old are the kids?
20 and 17 boys.
All right, the 17-year-old in the
Next 5
next
years.
4 to 7 months is
Yeah.
going to get completely
7
ripped
months,
shit
5
on like
years.
Boone's Farm or
Yeah.
some hard seltzer or something. He's going to yak. And then he's literally going to crash out on the cold tile floor next to the
Gonna feel
toilet
wonderful.
because he can't handle his booze. So he will have that night in the
He
bathroom.
will have that story.
Yeah, I
Good.
did my night in the
Long-
bathroom. I was living on my own. It's just I got so jacked up that the tub felt closer than the futon.
We don't need the context when you tell the story. Just
Yeah,
say you
but-
slept in the bathroom.
No, speaking of the bathtub, when I used to, like back in the day when I would just watch like infomercials at night because there was like nothing to watch, and it would be Tony Robbins and his
Yes.
story. And at that time, I had nothing going on. I'm like, how am I ever gonna like make it in this business? And I'd come back from doing like a spot at the Comedy Store, and I'd watch it. And he had a story of, I'm living in a 1-bedroom place in Venice Beach, doing my dishes in my bathtub. And I remember being like, well, if you're one person, how many dishes do you
Yeah.
have? And why don't
Yeah.
you have a
Why are you
sink?
doing it in the back?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah,
and how
I'm
many? What are you having a dinner party that you had to wash all these dishes? It was.
Yeah.
Look it up.
How
I
many
swear to
dishes
God,
do
he
you
said he
have?
washed his dishes in his bathtub.
I don't. Well, I don't want to be a one-upper, but Tony Little.
Maybe.
Technique. Tony Little's the guy
on the
who perfected
elliptical.
the gazelle.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, he hurt his back in a car accident, ballooned up to 300 pounds. There's a picture. Here's what everyone needs. Everyone needs to spend one night in the bathtub,
Yes.
Everybody
one
needs a
night in the
picture.
car,
Got it.
and you need one picture of you looking fat and depressed on the sofa.
Yes.
You go,
good
that
before
was
picture.
me. That was me.
That is the
You can always point to that
trifecta
picture.
You have
to
that?
the American success story
Sky's
in
the
entertainment.
limit.
Yes.
You can sell exercise equipment, you can sell supplements, or you can be a movie star, but you're going to need the depressed shot on the sofa where you're looking depressed and you're chubby.
One time when I was still so desperate to get on any kind of TV, I would be watching like, Today's Show or whatever, and makeovers. And I like made myself look like such a dork in like the worst outfit. And I sent it in and I was like, can anybody help me because I'm like,
Oh,
that's the
you
only way.
unmade
I
yourself.
made myself really ugly, really dorky, like that nothing was fitting
yourself.
right. I was covering myself because I was such a nerd. You know, I was like, you know, anything to just get on TV. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a new sort of race to the bottom in terms of how poor everyone was, and it bugs the shit out of me, and I talk about it all the time. And
I agree.
I don't like it, and it's been around. Well, so what it is it's a kind of a thing where, like, if Joe Biden goes and speaks to the Black Caucus, he then explains marching arm in arm with Martin Luther King. You know, he just says a bunch of shit. He tried to integrate the public swimming pool in 1957 and Scranton. You know, he makes up a bunch of shit because he's just talking to the black audience, right?
Right.
But later on that afternoon, if he has to go to talk to the Hasidic Jews, then he talks about celebrating Purim back at the house in Scranton. Like, that's essentially what politicians do.
I love challah bread.
Yes,
Yeah.
and
It's true. That's how
Now-
it's affected politicians.
and
With
here's
hot sauce.
Here's a thought for you.
Yes.
I think actors have turned into politicians
Oh, yeah.
because in a world where everyone's getting canceled, they're now running for office.
Right,
They're
because you
running
can't.
for
And also, we're
re-election
on
all the
strike, so
time.
you can't get a job. So what else are you gonna
Yeah.
do?
There's
At least,
no-
at least you get a
You're not
paycheck
getting
when you work for the government.
There's no fucking possible way that every one of these actors and comedians and everyone else trying to get a job in Hollywood would have been exactly lockstep on COVID. There would be a lot of different opinions. There'd be arguments about ivermectin. There'd be arguments about reopening
No,
the
you have to-
schools.
yeah,
there'd
if
be
you,
arguments about closing the beach. Like there'd be
The best example of this is Ethan Klein. I don't know what Ethan's politics were to him prior to being a multi-million-dollar. I think he's worth about $20 million, and then his wife's company, Teddy Fresh, the clothing line, is worth between about $50 and $100 million. They live in a gated community in California. It's the only reason they say the things that they do. They don't actually believe those things. They may believe them, but I doubt they do. If they didn't feel that way, they wouldn't be able to survive in the place that they're in. They would be completely excommunicated from a lot of things. She would have difficulty with her fashion line. He would have difficulty. I don't really know if Ethan would have difficulty. He's been very successful on his own with streaming. But they feel a certain way, and they feel that way because they live in Hollywood. Same thing with Hassan. He grew up, his parents are extremely wealthy. He's done pretty well for himself. He's a millionaire. His parents were extremely wealthy, grew up in L.A., and they are successful LA people as well, so they share those same ideals. It's really sad that if you want to, well, I guess probably a lot of places like this, a lot of industries that you would have to feel the same way as the other people that you're in that industry with to succeed. But I have an IMDb, I write screenplays, I've gotten awards for screenplays, and I stepped away from trying to get involved with Hollywood about 5 years ago because I saw the whole woke thing happening, and I was like, well, I'm the whitest dude on the face of the planet, so I'm just not going to get a job. And it was true. They basically told me if you weren't gay, bisexual, well, basically they said if you're not gay, woman, or a minority, you might want to rethink about your career.
They should be arguing. They all magically landed in the exact same spot on COVID, and that's just because they're running for re-election and they don't want to get canceled.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's the new
That's what
world
cancel
order.
is.
And just like a politician, middle class Joe, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scranton Joe. Everyone's dumbing it down. I had Gavin Newsom in here. He was explaining to me that, you know, he comes from a broken family,
My sister went to college with them at Santa Clara University. It's a private school.
raised by single mom, he said.
Okay,
But
I'm
he
just
left
saying.
out the part where his dad was lead counsel for Getty fucking Oil. His dad was
that.
the lead attorney for Getty Oil, the richest family in the world, and
richest
he was the
family in the
lead
world.
attorney.
Literally.
So his dad made fucking...
Literally the richest family in the world. Well, Dow Chemical. There's a couple up there, but they are one of the richest companies in the world. Yeah, yeah.
buku bucks, but what was he doing? Down. He was peddling it down.
At Santa Clara University with my sister. And then what about his aunt? I mean, I'm an aunt who's successful. I'll probably help my kids a little bit.
Who's his aunt?
Pelosi.
Oh, I didn't know that was his aunt.
You didn't know that's his aunt?
Oh, wow. I had no idea either. I had no idea. That's insane. I don't think a lot of people know that. That's insane. Nancy Pelosi is Gavin Newsom's aunt. No, I would hard-pressed to see the percentage of people who actually know that.
I should have known
Can you
that.
just double check
Yeah,
that
I've
I'm
never
not
heard
like
that either,
that
but
I didn't like dream this?
Well, the problem with aunt and uncle, I mean, especially in the black community, not that he's in the black community, but he would be if he was talking to a black church.
Right.
It gets thrown around kind of liberally. The aunt, my kids say Uncle Jimmy, and they're talking about Jimmy Kimmel.
Right.
Is not technically their uncle. That's the only reason.
Is it?
All right, so distant aunt. Yeah, Barbara Newsom, who is his actual aunt, was once married to Ron Pelosi. So Nancy Pelosi's brother-in-law.
That is a pretty good connection, though. I mean, that's a family connection.
Now
You have a connection, but I'm not saying that's why he is where he is. I'm just saying it's a connection.
It is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he didn't have a hard Scrabble life. I
No.
think is what he was trying to get me to think. He was comparing. He was talking about homeless and single moms and people on the street.
Gavin Newsom, Justin Trudeau, Macron from France. If you lined all three of those guys up, try to tell me which one is which. They're like little clones of one another, and they're going to be taking over the world.
And then he goes, I come from a single rich bitch who was married to a fucking millionaire. Yes, you do come from that.
I lived about like a mile and a half or whatever from the Catholic school I would go to school. And since starting third grade, I'd ride my bike to school, I'd lock it.
Wait, what was your Catholic school?
St. Mel's in Woodland Hills.
Okay.
And so my parents were realtors together. And so once my mom started to work, I would ride my bike to school.
Hold on a second.
Yes.
Move on.
Did your parents have a super obnoxious picture of the two of them together?
Yes, Bob and Pam McDonald welcome you to Woodland Hills.
And together?
No, they were never together.
Oh, okay.
They always had like they had bus benches, but only their names, never their faces on the bus benches.
I'm
they
okay
did
with
have their
that.
faces on shopping carts.
Okay.
At Ralph's.
It's a big deal.
And so anyway, I would go to school, and if it rained, which would be rare, they would drive me. But they always forgot then to pick me up because they're not used to picking me up. So I remember walking home in the rain, looking at my feet in the rain, and I said, this will be the opening scene for my made-for-TV movie. I literally used to think like that. I was like, this is so abusive. I did put it in one of my books, but I was like, and then I come home and they're both just there. Oh, we forgot that we dropped you off. I'm like, yeah, I know, because I'm the youngest of 5, and you're doing your thing. But
so
they were fabulous parents.
To be fair, rhythm.
I hope she had a brother. I hope she had an older or younger brother who was just like, they forgot about you again. Oh, that's hilarious.
Rhythm's tough to break once you get into the rhythm. Like, we just had, last week was a 3-day weekend, and everyone rolled in here on a Tuesday thinking it was Monday.
Right.
Because of the rhythm of it. And that's how minds work. And we need to keep that order in our head.
Yes.
Hop into a rental car, start reaching for the windshield wipers. You'll reach for it where it was in your car.
Right.
Because it's all sort of rhythm, muscle memory. Speaking of walking.
Yes.
I've lived in Southern California my entire life. I've lived in the hills of Hollywood for a million years, and La Cañada, and all the foothills and all the hills. Anyway, always discussions about rattlesnakes. I've had, and neighbors going, oh yeah, they killed a rattlesnake up the street. I'm like, that's where I walk my dog. Oh yeah, my dog got bit by a rattlesnake. Lots of rattlesnake discussions. I have never encountered a rattlesnake in all the trails. I've hiked a million trails. I've walked a million paths. The same ones that everyone finds the rattlesnakes. Never one until last night.
Oh, God. What happened?
I was walking through the hills of Malibu. There's a back street that just sort of goes all the way up to a cul-de-sac. This kind of good exercise, uphill, hour walk, Left late, so it was getting dark.
Scary.
But I have done this on a few occasions. It just gets dark, but safe neighborhood. Definitely. Who cares? And I'm walking, sort of hanging toward the middle of the street, but it's a cul-de-sac and there's no traffic on it. But sure enough, a car starts coming down the street. It's about 7:30. Like it's getting dark. 7:45, and as the car starts coming down, I go, I make my way to the right side of the road.
Oh shit.
Where there's some foliage and dead leaves and stuff, and I start making my way, and the car passes, and I hear the sound.
Yeah, the sound is
of what sounds like, you know,
sound.
when sprinklers on a timer fire up.
Yes.
Especially the
Yes.
drip hose type, the little spray ones, not the full lawn ones, but the
little clicks.
the little, and its thing starts,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, somebody's sprinklers fired up, and I stopped for a second, and then I was like, and then I looked
So
down,
distinct.
and there's a fucking rattlesnake.
How big?
Standing, not big, but I'm assuming the little ones will kill you.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
As well, and it was like perfect
Rattlers-
timing. The car came down the hill.
It's just
I
white
moved
shit.
over to where the leaves are. The rattlesnake fits in perfectly with the leaves, and literally almost stepped on it because the fucking car pushed me off to the side. And I was like, sprinklers.
Yeah, it's
And
rhythmic.
then I just paused, and I was like,
It's now.
Ooh,
yeah, it's like
rattlesnake.
this-
And then I moved it out.
It's almost like your primal brain knows.
I hightailed it home. I was a puss.
Very scary. Of course, I've seen lots of coyotes. They're
Lots
everywhere.
of coyotes. Yes.
And then the mountain lions, they're building that $80 million bridge so that the mountain lions can get some, fresh pussy.
Homeless
They're
are-
done. They're
homeless
done.
are
They're done
gonna-
screwing their sisters, and it's not fair.
The homeless are going to take over that bridge as soon as they're done. There's just going to be piles and piles of homeless people. They're going to be parking RVs on it. They're going to take it over. It's free real estate. It's prime real estate. Right? It's going over the 405.
I don't even know, but it's that the mountain lions couldn't cross the street.
They can't get
so
across the
they're
405.
inbreeding,
It's
and
the
they're
405.
so they don't want to screw their sisters anymore, or their
Right.
brother, whatever. And so they're like, that's cruel and unusual punishment. So we need to give them a bridge so they can go over and meet some fresh tail in Hollywood or whatever.
Yeah, they got to get.
That's what we're going to spend $80 million on. Okay,
They got to
whatever.
get from sort of the Hollywood side to the Malibu
Right.
Hills side.
It's
and
not fair that you live in Hollywood and you can never meet some new chicks in Malibu. That is not fair.
Yeah.
Mountain
Oh.
lion or regular dude.
Yeah.
Not okay, you guys.
Those mountain lions are going to be cruising Nobu in no fucking time at all. Yeah. So nature.
Yes.
Still, and with a little helping hand.
but now
from
you've
us.
kind of freaked me out. Because I remember once being a little girl about the rattlesnakes, and someone said, they keep you'd see like the hole in the ground, and that's where they live.
Yeah.
And so one day I threw a rock down there, and I did hear it hiss, and I probably killed it. But then I felt bad because I was like, why did I kill it? It wasn't doing anything to me. But I just didn't believe that they really were in there.
yeah.
So it's good to just be aware. I guess that's also why people have sticks and stuff, right?
I guess the moral of the story is if you're walking through the hills and it's hot weather and you're walking along the edge where the leaves and the
Yeah.
dead shit is, move it out a little into the street. Now,
Yeah.
the bad part is when a car comes, but you're better off trucking toward the middle of the street. You get a nice view of what's in front of you. The side, you think about a rattlesnake's camouflage,
Right.
it's perfect for the dead leaves and
course.
and tumbleweeds and everything
Right.
that's there.
Do you even know what you do when you get bit by a rattlesnake? You've
You
had
have
the
to
training.
suck it
I wouldn't
out.
even know.
I wouldn't even know. I think you call.
I just call it. I'll be like, all right,
How
I'm
do you
dead.
not
No, I
Or
know.
you
I
keep
think
your heart rate
Adam-
down.
okay,
Adam
keep
knows that. Adam knows this. Every 1960s, 1970s movie used the trope of somebody getting bit by a rattlesnake and they had to suck out the venom. If you've watched movies from 1950 to 1980, you know how to get venom out. You know what happened. You know what you do. You know what you do because you watch television.
Your heart rate down.
Oh.
Good
Stay
luck with
calm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take a
Good
nap.
luck.
Yeah.
freaking
Trying to
out.
suck it out.
No.
Listen, there were a lot of things that were a big part of my childhood for no reason. But a snake bite kit was one of them. A snake bite kit from the 70s. Because there was a time when people like sort of war surplusy, like
Yes,
guys
that's
had
true.
canteens, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
military style.
there was a time that canteens were in.
There were Army Navy stores that you would go to and you'd buy camo clothes and you'd buy knives and you'd buy the stuff you put on your face, like the green, so you could have you could have that green and green. It was the time of American. What was that magazine? Soldier of Fortune magazine.
Wear like an army jacket. There was just a weird time.
I know I'm going the distance here.
There was Army
right around First Blood, and Rambo. He just said Army surplus.
Surplus stores
Yes.
everywhere, and you'd go there, and number one, everyone had one of those collapsible cups, like those weird tin camping cups. Like I need a cup that I can put in my pocket that leaks. You know what I mean? It's essentially who invented that, because of course it had to leak. It was made of galvanized tin, and you just lift it. It was all like friction, but you couldn't. Anyway, a snake bite kit was a weird little rubber contraption, pill-shaped, smaller than a pack of cigarettes. And it came with a razor blade. I guess that you could slit your wrist and bleed out the venom or something. It came with a razor blade, and the package it was in was a suction thing. You could put it on the snake bite and try to pump it or something. But I just grew up in the valley with you. I never saw a rattlesnake.
No.
Everything was asphalt and 7-Elevens and
Totally.
shitty apartment buildings. But everyone's like, you got your snake bite kit? Oh, yeah, I got to get my snake bite kit. It was like a stupid kid thing.
Yeah.
Someone's got to find a picture of it. It was orangey, fleshy, colored, and rubbery, and
Yes.
that's not it. But I mean, it's close enough.
I do
It
feel like
wasn't yellow, but they have a snake bite kit.
I'm not a camper.
What's in it?
As I recall, a razor blade. There's got to be some Neosporin or something.
And you suck it out? I don't know.
Listen, let me tell you what would happen.
My brother had a snake.
That's it. That's it. A snake bite.
It's like a pill case.
What is in it? And I want to hear about your brother for a second, but I do want to say this. The snake bite kit, for me, would be up there with the life-saving hammer you're supposed to keep in your car to cut your seatbelt off. If you go full Chappaquiddick and you end up in the lagoon in your car and it's sinking and your seatbelt's jammed, you're supposed to cut your seatbelt off and then use the hammer to bash.
Yeah, crack the window.
All right, but we all know how that would really go.
I just feel like it was fun. I'm ready to go.
Or you would.
I'd be
like, I am not going to survive anything. I mean, that's why I'm like, if we all go together, I'm down for the world ending tomorrow. I don't want to be left.
I don't feel I panicked.
I don't want to be left with the zombies.
Life hammer for me would be, I'd be sinking, and then I'd call somebody and go, where the fuck? And they'd go, oh, I put it in the trunk. And I'd go, okay. Well, tell the kids I love them. That's it. But I put it in the console for a reason. Yeah, I found it. And I threw it in the trunk. Like the snake bite kit would be me on the ground, writhing around. I'd be like opening a fanny pack. Bunch of shit would be falling out of it. I'd be struggling to find it. I'd realize I didn't bring it with me, that it was back. There'd be someone to blame.
Yeah.
Like I'd be cursing somebody. I fucking told her to put it in the fucking fanny pack 3 days ago. Wouldn't be in there. Gum and chiclets and gummies would be falling out of the pen, and I'd be sitting there going, "What the fuck is that?" And that would be my last thoughts. That's why I'm not going to buy it. So it's a scalpel.
Scalpel's the number one thing.
I told you it was a razor blade.
Yeah, you said it. What you're right.
2 large high suction cups for multiple bites. Wow, that's a bad day. 1 small high suction cup for small punctures. Easy to use lymph constrictor. That doesn't seem easy. Yeah. Antiseptic swab, complete instructions. Like you're going to be reading that. It's going to be in German and Mexican and Japanese, and you're going to be turning it over. I don't have my fucking reading glasses. Yeah, the container for it is a suction cup. Yeah.
When panicked, I couldn't use any of these things.
No,
none of those things are recommended.
But I just remembered that my older brother, who's 8 years older than I was, he got a snake like at 12 or something. So I would have been like 4, and it was huge. And once a week he would sell tickets to the kids in the neighborhood for $1, and my mom would buy the mouse, and we would watch him eat everyone would watch the snake eat the mouse, and then you just see this big lump in its body.
Would he do it? Because every time I throw a mouse in with a snake, I just watch and they don't do anything.
Oh no, it was once a week. You fed it a mouse, and then and I went to kindergarten, and I had the big snake around my neck for show and tell, and my mom didn't care. She was like, "This is great." And then this teacher's like, "You know that snake could wrap around your neck and strangle you," and I was like, it could. Like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And then so one day, then we got rid of the snake and we just let it out in the wild. But because it had lived such a posh life south of the boulevard, Woodland Hills, it actually came back.
Oh, really?
It came back and was like at our door.
I like
so
this
then we were like,
lifestyle
all right,
better.
come back in.
Yeah.
I've done that with girlfriends. I've like set them free up in the hills of under Mulholland there, and at some point they walk their way right
What a
back
good
to that
feeling
condo.
that is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Especially if it's hot and you're the only guy they know that has air
Oh, it's
conditioning.
hot outside. It's snake season.
I got to get back together with a boyfriend in my 20s because he had air conditioning, and it was a very hot summer.
Hey, air conditioning was a draw.
Yes.
Like, I can name you 15 shitty movies I've seen because there was air conditioning in the theater and we had none at home in North
100%.
Hollywood, and the San Fernando Valley was 106
Yes,
degrees.
that's true. I don't care.
I
Watch
would
movies
say,
based on runtime.
oh, I mean, look up Doc Savage.
And then you'd
immediate
skip to the
cold.
next theater without pay.
Oh, this is even
get
pre-Plex.
acclimatized to
This is
Oh,
just
yeah.
the Guild or the El Portel, the Lorena or the whatever.
Just the single screen.
Just
places.
sit there. They got Doc Savage, a movie no one ever wants to see.
No thanks.
Horrible movie.
Aloha, Bobby and Rose. They're all no name, small budget, nothing movies. Chariots of the Gods. Like
Chariots
we've
of
talked
Gods,
about some of these movies. Just
Yeah.
shit, low budget, 70s, nothing. But we got air,
Yeah.
and we ain't going anywhere. And
No.
it's 105 degrees outside.
Right.
So fuck that. And
Right.
and the house has no air, so we're just gonna hang out. So you got back together with the dude for the air.
I have. I would stay with because I had a place in like Santa Monica, which they didn't have air conditioning, but there was like 1 or 2 weeks that it was, I wasn't right on the beach, and that it was just really too hot, and they never had air conditioning. So, yeah, I
Yeah.
needed to hang out with air conditioning.
Santa Monica construction
Maybe in
is,
California.
because I lived in Santa
Yeah.
Monica on 14 for a while.
Rhode Island.
Every apartment, everything there has got about the same conceit, which is we're not going to spend a bunch of money putting in air conditioning, but there are going to be 7 to 12 days a year where you're going to be fucking miserable in
Right,
this
right.
apartment. But
Yes.
that's not that much.
No, that's not that much.
So
yeah.
if you can suck it up for a week,
or find someone to screw that has air conditioning,
Yeah.
you can survive till October.
I would think, ironically, the air conditioning would be the blowjob, because I feel like it's right in the title.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So you got back. What was wrong with the guy that you didn't want to be with him in the first place?
There were so many guys that I just sort of would date just for material. Like, even if I didn't like them, I'd be like, the next day, my sister would call. She's like, how was your date? And then she'd start laughing. And then I would, like, write down the stuff. So it was, like, bits. So even if it was, like, or if I date someone that was, like, kind of older, not, like, really old, but older that could, like, buy me a meal, I definitely wanted to have dates where I'd order. And I would, and if I ever felt like getting an appetizer was going to be an issue, then I wouldn't go out with them again, because I like a starter and I like an entree. So it was a lot of to eat and to come up with a bit. And then finally, when I was about like 27, 28, I came home one day and I go, I'm only going to date people that they're normal and there's a potential to get married. And then I found my husband shortly after.
Sleeping in the tub.
And he's not that normal, but I'm saying he wasn't like trying to be an actor or anything.
Wake him up by running the water.
Yeah. And he didn't want to be one. Guys would like diss that what I was doing. Like they'd be
Stand
like
up at the time?
stand up and act. I remember when I was this one guy, he goes, "Oh my God, I have a commercial audition today." And he goes, "Oh my God, I mean, do you ever book any of these?" And I go, "No, I don't.
Right.
I never book anything. But I'm so excited just to go on the audition. I mean, am I going to put a time limit? Like come 30, it's like Logan's Run and I go kill myself? Like,
That's what I did. I did.
you set a time for 30?
I did. Yeah.
Well, I
time for
booked
30.
something before
I did
30,
that.
so
It was
I
a
didn't
bad
have to
idea.
kill myself.
I had very
yourself
loose
there.
parameters.
Maybe
I was
do
like,
well
you don't
over
have to
here.
book anything. You just have to be doing something other than construction.
Yes.
Maybe.
I did that. I stopped working, and for a year, I wrote. I had the money at the time to just take the year off, and I just wrote. And I wrote a lot of screenplays. And I entered them in contests and did well in the contest, and actually got invited down to Texas to go speak at a festival from my screenplay, which was amazing. But I said, I'm only going to give it a year. I said, I'm going to take a year off. I'm going to see how far I can get. And I got that far in that year, and then I went back to work. Painting, which is not as horrible as doing an office job and all that shit. So I should be writing more, but I'm in a transition phase. Hence the no shirt.
People could squint and think it was creative.
Yes.
But it doesn't need to be, on TV or behind a mic or anything.
Right.
Just something involved with the creative process.
Yes.
Yeah, well, the thing about being successful in the industry is you get beat up at the beginning because it's such a low percentage job and nobody knows who's better at it than the next person, and why should the person you're dating think statistically you stand a chance of being successful. So you get kind of unduly knocked around because you picked a super low percentage job. But then when you make it, you get extra love.
Right.
So it sort of evens out.
And then when you make it too much, then you get a lot of hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Sofia Vergara. Who cares what that bitch has to say?
Come on. She's fine.
She's hot looking.
She's hot. She's
All right,
funny.
let's
I would love to be a guest, a host on America's Got Talent. I think that is a very easy, fun job.
Best job ever is judge.
Yes.
Best. I've done
Judge
it a
of
few
any.
times.
I would love to be a judge on a food show. I've been putting that out there in the universe. I would love to judge food. I've been trying to create a show for years, but I've never bothered to pitch it. I just talk about it on podcasts. America's Best Orderer. Okay? Because I think I have a real talent when there's you go to dinner with maybe 6 people. And we're all into kind of sharing, but this one's a vegetarian. I know exactly how much to order for the table between the appetizers and the salads and the entrees, in which and pick the best stuff, and everybody is satisfied, and there's very little left over, and that I think is a gift from God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you the opposite of that. I'll tell you the worst place it can be. They say don't go to the supermarket when you're hungry. Don't let your drunken friend order who's not paying. I went out with Mark Garagos. He had a few belts. It was family style with 12 people in New York. And he's like, yeah, bring three of the pizzas and then bring the pasta. It's because when you're buzzed and you're ordering, you're fucking going all in.
Free for all.
But he didn't pick it up.
Everything looks good. He fucking flew us private over there.
Then you got to pick up the meal.
He picks up everything.
Yes.
Picked up a $50,000 flight so I can
let him
pay
get that
That's
$900 for the pasta.
Shout out to Mark Garagos. I love you.
When you catch a buzz, do not let the buzzed person at the table order, because the buzzed goes big.
Yeah.
And everything looks, they got pumpkin ravioli?
You gotta try,
give us the 3 pizzas, and we got to try the pumpkin ravioli.
The truffle risotto.
Yeah, it's just...
You got to try the lobster mac.
When you're buzzed...
Especially steakhouses are scary, okay? Because my husband, we're pretty convinced, got fired from a job for ordering at a steakhouse. What happened was, we were newly married, and he worked with medical sales. And all of a sudden on a Friday, the week after the holiday Christmas party, he gets a call from his boss. Hey, can you bring the van with all the equipment down to Long Beach for a meeting? At 5 o'clock on a Friday. Not a great time to have a meeting.
Right.
Bring your playbook.
And then he was let go. And I'm like, what do you think happened? And he started to recount stuff. And I'm convinced it was because it was a company thing. And the girl comes over at Mastro's or whatever. And he saw that some other department had a seafood tower. So he goes to the girl. She goes, would you like a seafood tower or whatever? And he goes, I'd like a seafood tower. And 2 other people out of 10 go, yeah, we'd be down. So instead of getting a seafood tower and putting in 3 people, which would maybe $75 a person, so that'd be $225, whatever, I can't do math. So then she does it for 10. So now there's an $800 on the bill.
Yeah.
And even though it was a company thing, it was on his supervisor's budget. And the guy was like, who the hell ordered the seafood tower?
Yeah.
So I talked about that, and people are always and I'm like, listen, if you're on, I don't care if it's a Christmas party, whatever, don't order the seafood tower. Follow the lead of your boss. If they got 1 salad, you get a salad, 1 entree. If they're getting cocktails, you can have a cocktail. If they're only ordering wine, just get a glass of wine.
All right.
Follow the lead.
Yeah.
Don't get fired.
No disrespect to your husband.